Deep inside one of the most heavily secured maintenance facilities in the United States, a team of highly trained Air Force technicians works tirelessly around the clock on a weapon that strikes fear into the heart of America's enemies. The GAU-8 Avenger Gatling Gun, the thunderous soul of the A-10 Thunderbolt II, also known as the Warthog. This beast of a gun, 7 barrels of absolute destruction, capable of firing 3,900 rounds per minute, is not just another piece of military hardware. It's a war machine designed for one purpose: to shred tanks, annihilate armored convoys, and dominate the battlefield from the skies. The facility, located at Hill Air Force Base in Utah, is a sprawling complex of hangars, specialized test areas, secure warehouses, and climate-controlled clean rooms, all dedicated to maintaining and upgrading one of the most terrifying weapons in the United States military arsenal. The moment you walk into this top-tier facility, you're hit with a sense of raw military precision. Technicians in Air Force uniforms, toolkit arranged with surgical accuracy, rows of meticulously organized components, and the rhythmic whirring of machinery maintaining the legacy of a platform that has refused to die. This isn't just about fixing parts. It's about ensuring that every single 30mm round that leaves the barrel of the Avenger does its job with devastating precision. At the heart of the maintenance operation is the disassembly and inspection bay, where trained weapons specialists carefully strip down the 620-pound gun system, barrel by barrel, casing by casing, checking for wear, stress fractures, and micro damage invisible to the naked eye. Using ultrasonic scanning devices and laser alignment systems, they ensure the tolerances of each barrel remain flawless. Because even the slightest error can throw off the gun's accuracy or jam its motor in the heat of combat. The Avenger is not just powerful, it's also uniquely complex. Its hydraulic-driven rotary system, 7-barrel design, and linkless ammunition feed require coordination and precision that few other air-to-ground weapon systems demand. And this is where the facility shines. The crews here don't just repair, they innovate. The Air Force's partnership with defense contractors, engineers, and ordnance experts ensures the Gatling gun remains viable even as warfare evolves into the age of drones, hypersonics, and artificial intelligence. Every few months, a complete GAU-8 system arrives from a deployed A-10, battle-worn, carbon-scorched, and heat-fatigued from sorties over hostile territory. It undergoes a full forensic breakdown. Technicians analyze firing patterns, metal fatigue, lubricant degradation, and even the carbon residue to understand how real-world combat affects longevity. They run test cycles using hydraulic test stands that simulate actual firing conditions, spinning the barrels at thousands of RPM to detect vibrations, misfires, or feed jams. It's here that each component is either remachined, replaced, or restored to war-ready condition, then reassembled under strict inspection protocols. The sheer scale of logistics is staggering. Each gun must be mated with thousands of rounds of specialized 30mm depleted uranium or high-explosive incendiary ammo, which also undergo their own checks for moisture content, casing corrosion, and primer reliability. And it doesn't end there. Once fully reassembled, the GAU-8 is run through a simulated fire test. It's mounted onto a vibration rig that mimics the movement of the A-10 airframe during a gun run, while high-speed cameras and thermal sensors monitor the barrel temperatures, spin-up times, and recoil force. The Avenger doesn't just roar, it screams with purpose, and that sound is music to the ears of every ground troop who knows the Warthog has their back. But beyond the technical aspects, there's a legacy here that fuels the mission. Everyone who touches this gun knows what it stands for. It saved lives in Iraq, crushed insurgent convoys in Afghanistan, decimated enemy armor in the Gulf War, and even now stands ready to do the same in any future theater. Despite repeated efforts by military planners and defense departments to retire the A-10 platform, the Gatling gun refuses to go quietly. Its battlefield effectiveness, rugged simplicity, and unparalleled close air support capability have earned it a cult following not just among troops, but among the maintainers and pilots who trust their lives to its firepower. At the facility, there's a wall of honor. Photos of A-10's in combat, testimonials from Marines and Army units saved by its air cover, and even pieces of downed enemy vehicles shredded by 30mm fire. It's a reminder that this isn't just maintenance, it's mission assurance. And the people working here know that. They go beyond military protocol. Some have served in combat themselves. Others are civilian experts who've dedicated decades to this one gun system. Each person plays a role in the life-and-death chain of readiness that extends from the flight line to the front line. And they do it with pride, knowing the signature BRRRRT sound of the Avenger unleashing fury is more than noise. It's the sound of American dominance in close air support. The facility also plays a critical role in upgrading components. With the Air Force investing in digital maintenance logs, real-time diagnostics, and additive manufacturing, even the 40-year-old Avenger gun is getting modernized. New 3D printed parts are being tested to replace worn components faster, at lower cost, and with even greater reliability. Engineers are exploring advanced barrel alloys that can withstand higher temperatures and reduce wear. Ammunition feeders are being reprogrammed with AI-assisted targeting data to optimize burst lengths. The goal? Keep the Avenger deadly and relevant for decades to come. And it's working. The feedback from pilots flying missions across Europe and the Pacific Theater confirms it. The gun hits harder, jams less, and lasts longer. In an age where stealth fighters and satellites dominate headlines, it's the unmistakable BRRRT of the A-10's Gatling Gun that often wins the day where it counts. Low, slow, and lethal. The team here doesn't just fix problems. They anticipate them. Predictive maintenance algorithms analyze operational data from sensors on board the A-10, flagging potential failures before they happen. Parts are pre-shipped to bases based on usage patterns, ensuring minimal downtime. And when a crisis breaks out overseas, these technicians pivot fast, running emergency overhauls, airlifting replacement guns, or even deploying forward with the units themselves. It's not just a job. It's a frontline mission conducted behind the scenes. At any moment, these men and women could be working on the very Gatling gun that will save an Allied convoy ambush in the desert, or suppress enemy anti-aircraft batteries to protect a rescue mission. And they carry that responsibility with pride. Outside the main hangar, a fully restored A-10 sits on display. Its nose painted with a classic shark mouth, its 30mm cannon proudly exposed. Visitors stop to take photos. School children marvel at its size, and veterans salute in solemn remembrance of the firepower it once brought to bear in an hour of need. Nearby, a technician wipes down a barrel segment with care, knowing that soon it will fly again, that its next burst could mean the difference between victory and defeat. And as long as the United States Air Force continues to fly the A-10, this facility will remain ready, quietly, constantly. But the story doesn't end with just the maintenance floor or the test benches. It extends to the very culture built around the A-10's mighty gun, a culture that honors resilience, grit, and the American warrior spirit. Deep within the research wing of the facility, engineers and ordnance scientists are pushing the boundaries of what this gun system can do. They're not just maintaining old firepower, they're rewriting its limits. Here, behind blast-proof glass and security clearance protocols, classified simulations and ballistic experiments are underway. New variants of the 30mm round are in development. Some designed to penetrate future armor systems, others crafted for surgical strikes with minimal collateral damage. The focus is precision lethality. In a world evolving toward urban warfare and asymmetric threats, the Avenger's roar must evolve too. Specialists are testing smart ammunition fuses that detonate at precise depths or distances, allowing an A-10 pilot to rain pinpoint devastation in complex terrains like mountain passes or dense cities without risking Allied positions. Meanwhile, ammunition logistics specialists work in tandem, mastering the intricate dance of transporting, storing, and loading massive belts of 30mm round across the globe. The linkless feed system used by the Avenger is revolutionary. No chain, no ejected casings, just a precise internal mechanism that feeds and recycles rounds at blinding speed. And keeping that system clean, lubricated, and perfectly timed is a full-time job for elite weapons crews who spend days on hands and knees inspecting every link, gear, and port with microscopic focus. But the real heartbeat of this gun's legacy lies with the pilots who fly it into danger. Periodically, the facility hosts veteran A-10 pilots for feedback sessions. What worked in the field, what didn't, how the gun behaved under extreme G-forces, or how it held up in icy altitudes or sandy war zones. These informal war stories often drive critical upgrades, minor tweaks with major results. One pilot might note a slight delay in spin-up time during low-altitude dives. Another might recall barrel distortion after extended firing in desert heat. That first-hand feedback is gold, feeding directly into design iterations and maintenance procedures. It's a feedback loop between warriors and weapon makers, and it's sacred. These sessions aren't just data gathering. They're bonding moments where respect for the gun, the mission, and the lives it protects echoes through every conversation. And for young technicians witnessing a former pilot describe how the Avenger saved lives on the battlefield, it's more than motivation, it's purpose. The legacy of the Avenger extends to training too. At the facility simulation bay, new Air Force recruits and maintainers learn the anatomy of the gun through interactive VR modules, hands-on mock-ups, and live-fire observation drills. They're taught not just how to fix it, but to understand it, respect it, and never take shortcuts. Because when a malfunctioning part isn't caught in training, it can cost lives in combat. Trainers emphasize this point with passion. Some are former gunners, others combat vets, and all share the same fierce pride in ensuring no A-10 flies with anything less than perfection in its weapon system. They use real-world failure stories, not as scare tactics, but as lessons burned into the minds of new recruits who will soon take the reins of one of the most feared guns in modern military history. Beyond training, the facility also handles emergency retrofits. When conflict zones flare up unexpectedly, the Air Force sends out urgent modification orders. Whether it's adding blast-resistant components, reinforcing recoil buffers for extreme climates, or integrating temporary upgrades to interface with allied digital targeting pods, this facility mobilizes like a firehouse, experts working overnight to make sure the birds get back in the sky, ready to defend freedom wherever it's challenged. One recent example saw an entire batch of Avenger guns reconfigured within 48 hours after a change in regional ammo logistics forced a shift from one type of round to another. The coordination was massive: testing, calibration, weight balancing, spin analysis, and transport. Yet, not a single aircraft missed a sortie. That kind of flexibility, that kind of readiness, is what makes this place more than just a depot. It's a fortress of American resolve. But what's perhaps most remarkable is the emotional bond formed between human hands and this mechanical monster. It's rare in the high-tech world of stealth drones and laser-guided missiles to see a weapon system earn such affection. But the GAU-8 has done just that. Maintainers name their guns. Some decorate toolboxes with decals of Warthogs. Others carry keychains made from decommissioned rounds. It's a warrior's tool, a symbol of raw power in an age of digital warfare. And it reminds the world that sometimes brute force in the hands of the right people is exactly what it takes to preserve peace. Even retired A-10 units send their guns back here for preservation or ceremonial display. Some are turned into training tools. Others become part of museum exhibits. Always honored, never forgotten. Each one carries a battle history, a story etched in carbon residue and heat scars. And every single technician who touches them becomes a part of that story, adding another chapter to the legacy of the gun that never quits. The entire culture surrounding the Avenger Gatling gun has even influenced design, thinking across the military. Other weapon systems, whether Navy CIWS or Army vehicle-mounted chain guns, have borrowed lessons from the GAU-8's reliability, its rugged design, and its field maintainability. And the engineers here have served as consultants on a dozen next-gen projects. It's no exaggeration to say that the ghost of the Avenger lives on in nearly every major rotary gun platform used by the U.S. military today. And as the world turns increasingly unpredictable, with rising tensions in Eastern Europe, instability in the Middle East, and challenges in the Indo-Pacific, the demand for dependable, fearsome firepower grows. In that equation, the A-10 and its terrifying Gatling gun remain uniquely relevant. Stealth can't clear a mountain pass. Drones can't loiter in contested airspace for hours under fire. But the A-10 can. And when it does, it's the BRRRRT that makes all the difference. This facility, its people, its machines, its mission, is the hidden lifeline that makes that possible. In an era where so many programs run over budget or underperform, the GAU-8 stands tall as a model of sustained excellence. It does what it was built to do every time. And that success is rooted in places like this. Clean rooms buzzing with diagnostics, testing ranges echoing with mechanical spin-ups, flight lines lined with rearmed Warthogs, and behind it all, patriots who know that freedom isn't free and peace is sometimes earned 30 millimeters at a time. It's this relentless pursuit of operational perfection that keeps the Avenger alive, relevant, and deadly. As the future unfolds, talk may continue about retiring the A-10, replacing it with drones or faster jets. But as long as American troops fight on the ground, as long as convoys need air cover, and as long as the sound of BRRRRT means salvation to those under fire, this facility will continue to operate, out of the spotlight, but at the very center of America's ability to strike hard and fast. As the sun rises over the sprawling compound of the U.S. Air Force's primary A-10 maintenance and weapons integration facility, the unmistakable rhythm of disciplined labor begins anew. Tool chests roll onto concrete bays, air compressors hum to life, and the Senate gun oil mingles with fresh coffee in the pre-dawn air. This is more than just another workday. It's another critical chapter in preserving America's most fearsome airborne asset, the GAU-8 Avenger. Within the armored walls of the Gun Inspection Division, specialists begin their inspections with reverence, as if examining a relic of divine firepower. Under precision LED lighting, each of the 7 barrels is run through a battery of bore scopes, laser alignment checks, and rotational tolerance tests, ensuring that the 30 millimeters cannon can once again deliver its unmatched rate of fire, up to 3,900 rounds per minute, with zero deviation. That's right. Every micrometer tolerance counts when your aircraft depends on millisecond timing between recoil, feed, and spin. Even a whisper of imbalance could cause catastrophic failure. And failure is not an option. These maintainers know what's at stake. Every time an A-10 releases its wrath, soldiers' lives are saved. That understanding fuels an obsessive attention to detail that would make even neurosurgeons blush. In the hardened storage bunkers just across the airstrip, pallets of high-explosive incendiary and armor-piercing 30 millimeters rounds await deployment. Ammunition handlers, many of whom are veterans, carefully rotate stock, inspect casing integrity, and test electronic compatibility with fire control systems. Here, the tools of destruction are handled with solemn respect, for everyone here knows the purpose of this violence is peace. Meanwhile, inside the high-speed dynamic testing bay, a fully isolated Gatling unit is mounted on a reinforced gimbal, ready for simulated operational stress trials. The gimbal mimics in-flight maneuvers, testing the weapon under conditions identical to a real battlefield mission. Violent dives, barrel roll angles, heat buildup, and power fluctuations. Engineers monitor the live telemetry on hardened terminals, watching for anomalies in barrel sync or vibration that might reveal fatigue invisible to the human eye. Nothing escapes this scrutiny. The philosophy is simple. If the enemy is building smarter defenses, the U.S. must wield smarter firepower. That's why the integration division next door is where the future of the GAU-8 is being shaped. Right now, a team of cyber electronic specialists is finalizing firmware updates that synchronize the gun's performance with the A-10's latest heads-up display, allowing pilots to lock and track multiple targets with even greater accuracy. And across the hallway, another team of metallurgists is running real-time stress simulations on experimental barrel linings. Coatings designed to reduce wear, resist corrosion in maritime deployments, and extend the operational life of each gun by an additional 20%. This isn't just maintenance, it's evolution. Every wrench turned and every sensor calibrated contributes to making the most terrifying gun in the sky even deadlier, even more precise, and even more resilient. As we move into the secure back bays where retired guns are stored, it becomes clear that this facility doesn't just build the future, it honors the past. Some of the units stored here flew in Desert Storm, Operation Enduring Freedom, and countless unnamed black ops. You can still see the wear from sand, salt, and blood, dents from emergency landings, scratches from battlefield servicing, and carbon burn from firing through hostile airspace. These aren't just weapons, they're warriors. And they're not scrapped, they're preserved. Some for study, some for ceremonial retirement, and some as inspiration for the next generation of firepower. That legacy fuels everything done here. Ask any technician on this base and they'll tell you the same thing. The A-10's gun is not just a tool, it's a living symbol of America's resolve. It doesn't blink. It doesn't hesitate. And when unleashed, It tells America's enemies exactly what they're up against. To ensure that message never fades, maintenance crews rotate on 24/7 shifts, especially during deployment surges. When A-10s are forward stationed in the Pacific or Eastern Europe, this facility ramps into overdrive, running diagnostics on twin sets of systems, preparing spares for a rapid deployment, and even sending out mobile armament teams who can fly into Allied bases and perform emergency maintenance on the spot. That's right. Some of these technicians go into the field, bringing their expertise directly to the fight. And they do it not for glory, but because they know what a single misfire could mean when boots are on the ground, and air support is the difference between survival and annihilation. The pride here is unmistakable. It's seen in the callous hands of loaders who handle every round like a surgeon handles a scalpel. It's felt in the tension of QA inspectors who sign off on final readiness reports with the weight of battlefield consequences on their shoulders. It's heard in the informal BRRRRT chants that echo across the hangar during test fire days. It's even etched into the patches worn by crews, Thunderbolts, Warthog tusks, and Latin mottos that speak of strength through fire. The GAU-8 isn't just a gun, it's a guardian. And guardians need caretakers. That's what this facility represents. As the military's global posture shifts and threats grow more complex, the demand for reliable, brute force solutions like the A-10 only increases. The aircraft may be older than some of the airmen flying it, but its firepower is timeless. And that timelessness is forged and protected right here. Inside this fortress of innovation and discipline, the unsung heroes of air dominance make sure that no matter how the battlefield evolves, America's enemies will always fear the thunder that follows the Warthog's approach. And when the call comes in, when troops radio for immediate close air support under fire, there will be no question, no hesitation, only action. The pilot will engage, the targeting system will lock, and the Avenger will roar. BRRRRT, over and over, relentless, precise, devastating, just as it was designed, just as it must remain. As we leave this massive, hidden stronghold of warfighting excellence, one truth rings louder than the gun itself. Behind every terrifying burst in the A-10's nose lies the tireless work of thousands of patriots who will never be seen on camera or mentioned in headlines. But their mission endures, sealed in steel, spun in fire, and driven by the unbreakable code that America always answers a call, with overwhelming force, and with the unmistakable fury of the Avenger. And just when you think the story ends at maintenance bays and diagnostics chambers, you realize there's a whole hidden layer to this facility, an advanced war lab of sorts, where engineers, veterans, data scientists, and combat advisors converge in war rooms filled with interactive sand tables, live satellite feeds, and augmented reality simulations. Here, they study the performance of the GAU-8 in real-world conflict zones, analyzing terabytes of mission footage, telemetry from gun runs, and slow-motion frame-by-frame breakdowns of every round fired and every target hit. They examine how armor behaves when struck by depleted uranium at 3,500 feet per second. They look at how enemy vehicles react, how heat signatures evolve, and how terrain shapes the perfect ambush or escape. And from that data, they improve the gun, the plane, the ammo, and the tactics. This is next-level warfare where the mind meets the machine, where American ingenuity doesn't just maintain dominance. It refines it. Down one corridor, you'll find weapon specialists dissecting spent barrels and extracting microscopic samples to determine where patterns invisible to the human eye. They're measuring erosion down to the nanometer to find out how many bursts a barrel can take before it needs replacement. Not based on guesswork or time cycles, but real science. Then there's a fabrication wing, equipped with precision CNC machines and laser welders, where custom parts can be made on demand for unique A-10 variants or overseas detachments. Need a new barrel core fabricated by morning? Done. Need a non-standard mount customized for a Special Forces variant of the Warthog operating out of an undisclosed location? They've got a guy for that. Probably a Marine-turned machinist who can build you a firing assembly in his sleep and still beat you in arm wrestling contest before breakfast. But it's not just hardware that gets the high-tech treatment. Across the base, a classified training simulator room replicates the cockpit of an A-10 down to every vibration and G-force. Here, Test pilots and operators train on updated fire control software that integrates the GAU-8's targeting with drone overwatch and satellite intel. Think of it. An A-10 pilot now training to fire the Avenger while coordinating with a drone pilot in real time to hit moving targets in an urban maze with centimeter-level precision. That's the modern war machine. Fluid, connected, unrelenting. And still at the heart of it is a 620-pound Gatling gun that rips steel like paper and turns the enemies we'll fight into dust. It's also here that the next generation of airmen are trained. Fresh recruits, wide-eyed and reverent, enter the hallowed halls of this facility like rookies visiting a shrine. Their instructors are grizzled maintainers who've been deployed everywhere from Kandahar to the Horn of Africa. These mentors don't just teach them procedures. They teach them culture, discipline, and the sacred trust that comes with maintaining a weapon that can end lives or save them, depending on how well you do your job. One loose bolt, one miscalibrated barrel, one overlooked error could mean the difference between a successful CAS mission or a friendly fire nightmare. And these kids, most just out of high school, learn that fast. But they learn it proud, because here, mistakes are never buried. They're corrected, studied, and turned into lessons that save lives downrange. Every hallway bears silent testimony to that purpose. Plaques of fallen heroes, grainy photos of A-10's flying through fire, letters from ground troops thanking the men and women who kept the Avenger firing when it mattered most. And perhaps nothing captures the spirit of this place more than the blackboard in the main hangar, covered not in technical notes, but in hand-scrawled quotes from the field. When we heard the BRRRRT, we knew we were going home. Or, I don't know what angel flies that gun, but God bless the hands that keep it ready. That's what this facility is about. Not just engineering, not just maintenance, but legacy. A living, thunderous legacy forged in titanium, fire, and grit. And as the geopolitical tides shift again, new threats in the Indo-Pacific, rogue states posturing in Eastern Europe, terror cells resurfacing in remote deserts, this facility is already ahead of the curve. Planning, adapting, innovating. The Avenger will never become obsolete. Not because the gun changes, but because the minds behind it refuse to let it fall behind. The engineers here are working with AI predictive systems that analyze weather, terrain, and enemy armor types in real time and adjust targeting parameters before the pilot even locks on. They're testing caseless ammo prototypes to shave weight and increase burst duration. They're exploring magnetic recoil dampeners that allow for even faster, tighter bursts with reduced airframe stress. They're turning science fiction into battlefield fact. And they're doing it under the stars and stripes, fueled by nothing but determination and the roar of freedom. Every A-10 that flies with an Avenger today owes its readiness not just to the pilot behind the stick, but to this fortress of brilliance and sweat. So the next time you hear that unmistakable BRRRRT echo across the sky in some remote valley, where troops are pinned down, remember this. It didn't happen by accident. It happened because somewhere a team of Americans working around the clock refused to let a single screw go unchecked, refused to let a single barrel go unbalanced, refused to let the enemies of freedom sleep peacefully. That sound you hear? That's the sound of commitment. That's the sound of precision. That's the sound of a promise kept. And in a world full of uncertainty, one truth remains absolute. As long as there are brave soldiers on the ground, there will be a Warthog circling overhead, and there will be a GAU-8 Avenger locked, loaded, and ready, thanks to the men and women inside the U.S. Air Force's massive facility who never let their guard down, ever.